and other parties of interest, the evaluation committee meeting for RPS 26-00137, Miscellaneous Architecture Engineering Services, will be held in part by means of communication media technology. Active participation will be for committee members only. Provisions have been made for any member of the public desiring to have access to the meeting. My name is Joe Wright, and I'm the senior buyer for the project. For the record, this meeting is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. At this time, I will ask each committee member to introduce themselves for the record, beginning with the committee chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. Amy Jarman, Capital Programs. I'm the committee chair.
Good afternoon. I'm Hannah Titrington. I'm with Public Works Contracts Management. I'm a business analyst.
Good afternoon, Philip Hunt, Capital Programs.
Thank you, everybody. The committee will evaluate, discuss, and score by consensus the proposals received for this project. Each proposal is to be evaluated based on the information provided in their proposal as it correlates to the requirements and evaluation criteria set forth by the solicitation and not any prior experience with the firm. So the proposals will be based on these criterias, which I'll refer to as criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. Criteria 1 is the ability of its firm and its professional personnel, which has a total points of 34. And then we have our firm's experience with projects of similar size and type, with criteria 2, which has a total points of 36. A firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements is criteria number 3, and has a total points of 15. And criteria number 4 is effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload with a total points of 15. And then I'll also discuss the bonus points, past performance, and volume of work once the group has made their consensus. Okay, the evaluation committee chair, Amy Jarman, will lead the discussion for the scoring. After each category is discussed, please state the final consensus score agreed upon so I may record it on the score sheet. After the conclusion of the scoring, I'll verify the scores with you all to provide clarity there. So with all that being said, Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you for the very first firm, which is ASD SKY.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do want to just go through a couple of points of what the scope was in the initial call. So the range of services included basic A&E services or special services pertaining but not limited to architectural, civil, landscaping, structural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical elements of the projects, including any specialty subconsultants. Also to be included are project management and planning services. Keep that in mind as we go through here.
Thank you.
Our first firm that we will go through will be ASD Sky. And we'll start with the first evaluation criteria 1. And again, we start and go into discussion of our evaluations. So with this firm, if we start with the first one, one thing to note is the team experience. I felt like it had a great experience. John Curran was the vice president. He had similar projects and larger projects. Alex Atwood, architect. He's also a project architect. We have Rayanne Boyle and Dana Clark as a interior design. Eric Randall as graphics and signage. They had landscape. And what I saw is they had all the disciplines that would be required. They had for architecture, obviously, ASD Sky, it's civil, Vikstrom, MEP Voltaire, structural, they had ECE. They appeared that they had a good understanding of the project and approach. They talked about they have 200 employees, 23 staff members in Tampa, and let's see what else. The PM qualifications for John, he is an architect with experience in municipal projects for this one. So the PM had some specialty experience. Based on that, within the category of 20 to 34, I had given them a 30 in that category. So we'll just go around and you can add or anything else you've seen and we'll go through it.
So I also gave them a 30, and I noted that they had a good team. I like that you noted that they have all disciplines, but I did say, you know, with similar experience, similar project experience. Gave them a 30 as well.
I was just a little bit higher at a 32. It's a big plus on them. I put strong investable continuing services and civic portfolio, but 32.
Would agree with that. Are we in the consensus of a 31?
31, I think 31 sounds very fair.
31 consensus.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is the firm's experience with projects of similar size and type, next category of evaluation. So on that one, we requested for 10 projects with similar size and type. They did have at least a couple continuing service contracts listed, St. Pete and Plant City. They did have municipal building project types. Now on this one, only 6 of 10 I found to be completed, which usually we look for completed projects. So that's an item of note. They did have many awards that they listed. Their services did appear to be similar to the RPS with the continuing services, full design service team. They had urban design, master planning. I did have a little bit of trouble finding on each project what team members were involved in the project, so I couldn't tell if the team they presented had experience in these projects, so that was the disadvantage that I saw with them. Based on that, I've given them a 31.
So I've also given them a 31. I did see that they had a contract that was very similar in logistical requirements and expectations. So I agree. I gave them a 31 as well.
Right there, with you guys, I had a 32. I kind of noted that some projects were designed for than operational facility focus. So very, very similar to what you guys had.
Are we at a consensus of 31?
30.
So I'm both 31 consensus. The next category is the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. So on this one, I was really looking for more than they presented in this category. So I couldn't even, they talked about the project approach, but it did not talk about schedule or budget within their description there at all. But it did talk a little bit about approach, so I ended up getting them 2.
Okay. I gave it differently. I gave them a 12, just because of their previous experience, especially with other municipalities.
I gave one 12. Kind of what you said, that is another less detailed form of schedule control methods than other larger firms.
Let's talk about that. So this section, let's look at what the and evaluation to see a better understanding. This is category number 3. So the breakdown is for 12 to 15. Its middle shows superior understanding of an approach to scope, schedule, and budget. 11, 9 to 11, its middle shows a good understanding of approach to scope, schedule, and budget. Project budget and schedule can be met. 6 to 8, its middle shows adequate schedule approach, understanding of budget control, and understanding of scope. Project budget and schedule can be met or modified to meet project intent. And then 3 to 5, middle shows inadequate understanding of scope, budget, schedule, and budget requirements, and 0 to 2, middle does not address either the schedule or budget. So there's a pull up the section, it talks about project approach. And I did not even find the word schedule or budget on that page. So that's where I'm missing their
Yeah,
schedule and budget. So
hearing it again and hearing how many times budget and schedule is used and, thinking back and remembering that schedule and budget did not come up. I would be very willing to amend my score drastically.
So I think, understand they did have a project approach, which was, the scope was talked about in the category there, but the schedule and budget was not. It talks about, the project schedule can be accelerated. There's,
There's a lot of project oversight.
yeah,
That was,
there was something about that. So, how about consensus, since, we get on that, if we look at somewhere in the 6 to 8, because they don't really talk about budget control and understanding the scope.
a lot
But
of consultant coordination too, is what I kind of noted on the do, so it's not kind of like what you're saying, I don't want schedules. But
Yeah.
It's more kind of other things, but I said 6 to 8, I mean, you can say 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, any lower than the 68 backward.
7 is this consensus score.
That's 7 is.
And the last one is, the effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload. So on this one, they did appear that they had adequate staffing with the 200 staff with ASD. They had a core team of 10 to 15% of availability. They did utilize sub-consultants, but they didn't provide the sub-consultant resources in their breakdown. So based on that, I've given them a 12.
I've also given them a 12. I did note that they had available resources to, it seemed like, to perform the work that we were asking of them on that scope.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a 13, but we won't go to go to a 12, but I just put it on here, active high profile workload may require careful resource allocation, so. So it's, I'm totally okay with that.
Okay. Well, 12 is
All right, so that concludes the eval scores. We also have the SPE bonus points. And in this case, they had a 5 out of 5, past performance score of a 3, and a volume of work of a 5 points. So that puts their total amount of points of 94. And just to go over those consensus scores again, criteria 1 was 31.
Correct.
Criteria 2 was 31.
Correct.
Criteria 3 was 7.
Correct.
Criteria 4 was 12.
Correct.
All right, perfect. Now we can move on to Baker Barrios.
Evaluation criteria number 1. Ability of firm in its personal, professional personnel. So on this one, it has a long time establishment since 1993. It does have 3 Florida locations, then Nashville, Boston, Chicago. It does have a large group, 160 professionals. Team members did have experience with continuing contact tracks that indicated. It did indicate local experience with Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa. The main point of contact was a registered architect with 25 years experience. Did have a landscape architect in-house and interior designer in-house. Did have a quality control in-house. All the disciplines appear to be listed: geotech, civil, with Campo, structural, MCE, MEP. The only thing I saw that could be a question is the MEP experience didn't have a lot of experience in Hillsborough County or city of Tampa, but it was in Orlando Pulp. That was the only comment that I had with that. So based on that, I gave them a 20.
I gave them a 31, noting their diverse staff and their work in the local area.
Give them a 31 as well. I just kind of noted on here that it did seem to emphasize private sector development along with the county development. So,
And this whole experience.
yeah, so 31, I mean, I'm willing to come down on that a little bit.
Me too.
Okay. How about a 29 or 30? 29?
I think 29 sounds like a good consensus.
Consensus based on some of that experience, not being in this skill. The firm's experience with projects of similar size and type. So on that one, they did have continuing contracts for similar municipal project types, the full service design team, renovations, new buildings, programming, HVAC replacement, parking lot improvements. I thought it looked like they had about 5 continuing projects. So based on that, with that, I gave them a 33.
I gave them a 30, noting their continuing services contracts.
Give 30 as well. So on here, fewer directly comparable government innovation projects were presented.
They did have City of Tampa, but they did, yeah, some of their breakdown wasn't.
Facilities,
Yeah.
education projects, multiple buildings.
Igor campus.
Healthcare and there too.
With a consensus of 32. Or do we want to get 31? No, 32. 32 is consensus. So. So the next category is the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. So based on that, they're estimating, they referenced estimating per phase. They had historic cost data referenced, completing projects on time, history, they indicated they had a good history of that. There was a local team with faster response time. And let me just go to that one more time. So they did address both budget and schedule and approach in that. So based on that, I gave them a 10.
I gave them a 9,
Okay.
just based on.
13. Just show the ability to manage assignments, additional schedule performance metrics though would have to be strengthened. So I could have been a lot at 13. So I'm willing to go down a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't see where they talked about accelerating projects and, accelerating the schedule. So that's why it was not at the 13. So with, based on the conversation, with 12 be?
I think 12 seems fair.
It's fun, yeah.
The last category for this is that one is the current and projected workload. So this one, we have adequate staffing. It looked like 10 to 70% of their time is committed. And then the Johnny Dagger, the project director, was 20%. And then Virginia Larea, project manager, was 50% committed. And they did indicate the, again, they have 160 professionals, 30 employees in Tampa. So based on that, I gave them a 14.
I gave them a 12 based on their availability, their history in delivering under, multiple projects under a service contract and their ability to track those milestones, their internal processes tracking those milestones. That's true.
Even the 13, I just noted, significant active private sector workload and require careful allocation during peak periods. Noted on that, so I get the 13.
Is a 13 a consensus?
I think 13 is a consensus.
Is a consensus score? 13 is a consensus.
Okay. Clarify for criteria number 1, Baker Barrios Architects got 29. Criteria 2 was 32. Criteria 3 was a 12. Criteria 4 was a 13.
Yes.
Perfect. Now for their SBE bonus points, they got 5 points. Past performance, 3 points. Volume of work, 5 points. This puts Baker Barrios with a total points of 99. And now we can move to Collier's Engineering and Design.
Anna, do you want to look at this one?
Certainly, I'll be happy to lead this one. Collier's Engineering and Design, for category 1, the ability of the firm and its professional personnel. I gave that they had staff that met all of the requirements to work with the city. It looked like they had a good amount of staff. I don't have the same notes that you do on all of
That's fine.
the different staff, but I gave them a 27.
A 27. Philip?
Well, I gave them a 30. I just noted the graded architectural, civil, structural, survey. It was a little more engineering focused than architecture.
Good observation.
So what I saw was maybe it was too civil focused for their experience. And most of the experience was in Miami. And it wasn't in the Tampa office. And then the organization was an engineer. The whole thing was not an engineer, not an architect. So I found that a bit concerning. They weren't located in Tampa. Lots of experience in engineering, which is great, but just probably not the best fit for this project. That's what I was looking for. The PM qualifications, he was an architect and did have some good experience, so I took that in consideration. But no Hillsborough experience or City of Tampa experience that I could see. So what I looked at was actually a 15. So there's a big difference there because of the civil component of it. So
I think that's a great observation, and something that Philip made as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I gave it 30 is because they did have the one that had architectural experience, but like you said, no Hillsborough County experience, so yeah, I'm definitely willing to.
okay. So how about if we look at like a 22, what does that look like?
I would find.
I think 22, which is fair. So for the next category, we've got the firm's experience with projects of similar size and type. They do have some experience with projects in similar size and type, none in Hillsborough, unfortunately, which was a drag down for me. I gave them a 20.
Just noted, yeah, kind of like you, the Hillsborough County experience was a big factor in that score.
I was missing some components. So for the experience for the project type, like continuing service contracts, they didn't have a lot that were similar to that. 3 of those projects were transportation, some small renos. And then only one of the projects I saw, it had very little experience with the PM listed for those. So that's where the concern was mine too, within that grouping. So I had actually given them a 16. Okay. So based on that, which is 16, probably. So the 14 through 20 is project team personnel have adequate level of experience. Project team contains all necessary disciplines of the the 14 to 21. Project team has adequate, successful, recent within past 5 years experience with projects of similar size and type. Prime firms' approach and methods proposed are adequate to provide the level of service required for the project. Some of the scope of services provided for representative projects are similar to RPS scope, and that's the category I found that they were in within that one. And I thought they were in the middle part of that, one of the 16 was really there. Would we think a consensus of 17 or?
Yeah, I think 17. I feel like that's a really fair score.
Consensus of 17?
Yeah.
The next one is, go ahead.
It's the firm's willingness and ability to meet the schedule and budget requirements. For this category, I gave a 10 out of 15. I did put that they do make a priority to meet all of our requirements with efficiency. They did mention on schedule and budget.
I gave them a 12 and just noted on here, strong technical capacity, but architectural delivery. It's less detailed than some other terms. Gave them a 12.
They did have some good components of the QA/QC program in the schedule. They use Procore, some other tools, budget. They talk about efficient design solutions. Has a hit team, they call it, to like come in as a rescue scenario.
We love this.
So I had given them, Philip, what did you give me? 12. I'd given them an 8 because they didn't really talk about improvements necessarily on there, but within the categories and discussion, they sort of imply within there. So I can see your point on that. So based on that, would we want to come to a consensus of 10 for our discussion?
I like 10.
10 is a consensus?
Yeah, that is a good consensus number. And the last one, I'm sorry. Effect of the firm's recent, current, and projected workload. For this one, again, we didn't have Hillsborough County experience, but it does mention that they do track their capacity and available resources to ensure that they deliver on time. So I did feel like they had a commitment. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave them an 11.
12 on that, so not too far off. Just put substantial staffing depth, regional resources, active statewide workload, smaller Tampa, architectural staffing, no may require. It's kind of was a knock on that a little bit, so I don't want to get into it.
That makes sense. I did see that they have a lot of years of experience. About a 50% median available staff time, that would be on about 50% available. And then they have some tools in there, so I've given them 11. So, are you consensus at 11? 11 consensus.
All righty. Just to go over those criteria once again. Criteria 1 was a consensus score of 22. Criteria 2 was a consensus score of 17. Criteria 3 was a 10. And criteria 4 was a 11.
Correct.
Okay. And for the SBE bonus points, they have 0. Past performance was a 3. And volume of work was a 5. So that brings their total score to 68.
Next one is CTH.
That's right.
Start on this one?
Yeah, so CPH Consulting, criteria one, ability of the firm, personnel. I put, they demonstrated strong multidisciplinary resources, public sector experience, broad architectural and engineering capabilities. Significant depth, so they do a wide range of county assignments, so I gave them a 32 factor.
What I saw was they had, county experience similar to the contract, had experience time period of looked around 45 years. It was a Tampa-based office. It did have quite a few professionals with many offices around the US. It was familiar with local permitting, architect of record, and then has county experience within there, did have the organization. And based on the review, I had given them a 29.
I put that they had public sector experience. And then I put that they had continuing service contract experience and professionals across all disciplines or many disciplines. So I gave them a 33.
Based on that, is a consensus of 32 look appropriate?
32 feels like
32. 32 is a consensus.
Criteria two, experience with similar projects. I gave them a 33 on this. I just noted they had a strong experience in public sector, municipal, facility related projects. Reflected experience across multiple facility types, strong military with multi-disciplinary projects. So 32 out of 36.
This one, it looked like one of the negative things I saw were some of the projects were not completed. They had some ongoing projects still, but a lot of them had both John and Veronica on it for the team members, 7 out of 10. But they were municipal projects. They did have some county experience, and they were similar to scope. So based on that, we did a 29.
I gave them a 34 based on their Hillsborough County experience and their team that's specifically structured for these continuing services contracts.
It looks like with a consensus of 32, appropriate, government.
32 was appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, consensus of 32.
Criteria three, schedule budget requirements. I gave them a 14 out of 15 on this. I just put demonstrate strong project management. Schedule control, budget management, password delivery capability. Sounds pretty high on this criteria.
So what I had is their QA/QC program they had a PM with experience in public sector. They provided updates. One thing I didn't get unless you guys saw it was how they would accelerate the schedule and make those improvements. In general, they talk about it like they have a good understanding of how it flows, but I was looking more of like, what are some tools that can be used for accelerating the schedule, which was part of that. So based on that, I've given them a 7. Okay.
I gave them a 14, just due to their, structured and integrated processes that, you know, help them deliver projects on time.
That makes sense. Let's see the categories for that. So 12 to 15, the submittal shows superior understanding of an approach of scope, schedule, and budget with potential improvements for project delivery and cost savings. And then 9 to 11, the submittal shows good understanding of an approach to scope, schedule, and budget, project schedule being met. So did they show improvements for project delivery and scope and cost savings?
Like you, it was a little bit vague. I mean, they talk about schedule control, but there wasn't a whole lot of detail into how to do that process.
So what if we look at 11, which is on the high end of the same?
I like 11.
I like that sound good. 11 is consensus.
Tier 4, current projected workloads, actually, I gave them a 13. Just know they had substantial staffing, organizational capacity to support Hillsborough County. Seemed to be a larger organization. Prioritization, smaller workload may be required during works of high workload. So 13 out of 15.
13, okay. This one, it did look like they had between 65 and 75% available workload. And they referenced like the dollar amount available per month. It didn't show, it gave the projection for current, but not, it went through April of 2027, but didn't continue on. So I looked at that too. And then it looked like John Lenti had a lot of active projects, so I did take that into consideration. It might impact their workflow. So based on that, I give them a 7, but. Okay.
I gave them 12, just because they noted that they did have the capacity and the resources to deliver immediate and responsive service without impacting your current projects.
Okay. So hearing your discussion, it looks like in that category, the 12 to 15 submittal shows the consultant's project team has adequate staffing available to complete services on schedule. Submittal indicates backup staffing capability in the event of unforeseen circumstances, and that's what you're referencing, the larger group within there. So is it 12 for the consensus for? That's a 12 in that first category.
What you said, that still may be a little high, like I said, 13. I had noted on there too, they may prioritize larger assignments.
Right.
So, to come on that score,
Yeah,
so.
we want to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Consideration.
Yeah.
So to run by those numbers for CPH consulting, criteria 1 was a 32, criteria 2 was a 32, criteria 3 was an 11, and criteria 4 was an 11. Okay.
Right.
And then their SBE bonus points was 0. Their past performance was a score of 1, and their volume of work was a 5, and that gives them a grand total of 92 points. So now we can go on to CSA Central Inc. It's our next firm.
So Phil, you just want to search that.
Yeah.
Starting at.
Yeah, I'm doing this year too.
So CSA. So this one, that we mentioned, they have a full service team. They did have all of the disciplines needed. They talked about community outreach was available as a specialty. Surveying was in-house with CSA, which I thought was interesting. They had 30 years of experience in Florida. They had a large employee nationally, which was sort of a backup. They did some internal cost estimating, which I thought was interesting. But most of the experience was in Miami.
Which location isn't part of the criteria base
Okay,
for the scoring?
okay, all right. But the experience within permitting isn't really a location. It's where it's, if it's local permitting, it affects the outcome of the project. So that should be something that you can take into consideration, don't you think? With experience,
With the experience with Florida permits?
but not for local
Just
permitting,
local.
because otherwise we don't know the permitting process. It slows everything down.
I hear where you're coming from. Just given that scoring right there with the
It's
criteria, it's just
their experience. So
Okay.
the location of the firm really isn't consideration.
Just total different process.
It's just
Getting
a
permit, it's this
experience.
location. when the
With
person's there.
permitting
okay.
is really based on their experience in the projects that they have. So it's not that their firm location is impacting the center experience.
Just trying to make that
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Their organization of the team, the lead principal was an engineer, so just keep that in mind. And then the PM was an architect, was a big amount of experience, so that was a consideration too. Based on that, I might give them a 15.
Yep, I gave them a 29, based on their in-house staff, their architect, their experience.
Give them a 28, and just kind of noted what you guys are saying, but it did seem more infrastructure focused than traditional architectural. So that was the big knock on it, but I'm doing 28, I'm willing to. Negotiate.
Well, since the main person was an engineer, the principal in charge was the concern that I had. It was not that that's bad necessarily, but for the type of projects and what the scope was for the fall, it doesn't really match the intent, even though they do have a project manager, which is a registered architect.
That's the only reason I really gave them 28 was based on that.
And then the deputy project manager was a registered architect and was a DC. So somewhat interesting, but it's not really appropriate to what our intent was. So that's why it was on the 15.
Okay.
But I think I hear what you're both saying.
In rereading the 14 to 24, it says project team personnel have adequate level of experience. Project team contains all necessary disciplines. Organization of project team is adequate to the project. Prime firm has adequate professional resources to properly provide service. Prime firm has adequate understanding of proposed project and what will be required to complete it. And proposed project manager's qualifications are adequate. So that's the 14 to 20.
Okay.
The 21 to 27 is project team personnel have above average level of experience and the project manager is uniquely qualified. Project team contains all necessary disciplines. Organization of project team is adequate to the project. Prime firm has a superior professional resources to provide to properly provide services. Prime firm has above average understanding of the proposed project and what will be required to complete it. Proposed project manager qualifications are above average.
Mhm.
Now mine was higher than this category. I'm willing to come down. I would love to land, I think, just because of the unique community outreach and the in-house survey stuff, I would wanna nod to that in the score, somewhere in the 21 to 27 range, I think, but yeah, of course I will.
But they do have a lot of years of experience, at least the firm does, so that's good. So would we look at in the 23 or 24 range? Okay, 23.
I can agree to 23.
Is there any sense of
Yes.
category is are firms' experience with projects of a similar size and type. So in this one, they did have, what it looked like, if they had similar projects of size and type, but not continuing contracts, the thing that was missing. And then 3 of them were civil or transportation projects. So that's what I'm looking at there. So based on that, I give them a 15.
I give them a 27.
Okay.
Said that they have the expertise and capacity to provide services for the board. And they've got the experience necessary to do it. In my opinion.
I gave them 26 and just, they did kind of emphasize infrastructure, utilities, disaster recovery, libraries, fire stations, county facilities. I gave them 26.
So we're looking for projects of similar size and type. So let's just look at them. So they had the Doral Center Park site development. And that was really civil scope, if you look at it. So it was sewer connection and transmission system. The next one was the Upper Keys Center. That again was
that the community center?
that's the Keys Center at the college. This one they collaborated with K2M on there, so they were a sub-consultant on that one. The next one is a Seminole Indian Reservation Gymnasium. That one's still in process. It looks like it says project is currently on schedule and reservation to the end of the year. The next one is retrofitting at Fire Station 20. That one there. It's complete.
What's the courthouse?
Courthouse.
I'm hearing about the courthouse, but I don't know if that was more of a utility or actually it was the vertical.
That's the fire station, the reservation, the college of Port Hills, Central Park site, Everglades City Community Center visioning and concept plans. That's a concept plan of the Robbins Park Lodge renovations. The transportation scope for City of Deerfield Beach, mobility improvements, and the Cedar Key Museum, historic reservation, which that is somewhere in scope and type. And then Cypress Reservation study and renovation. So a couple more transportation civil. That's why I was on the lower side with this, just because we don't have transportation projects we work on under this contract. But I see you guys are at the higher side. So looking at that same category of 22 to 29, where most, let's see, more than adequate experience projects, more than adequate successful recent experience with projects of a similar size and type. Could we look at the lower side of that, because some of them really not architectural and some of them aren't complete?
You were at what?
I was at 15, which is really the other category, but what if we looked at like a 22 or 23?
It would be 20 if you want to go.
Yeah, I would be willing to meet you in your category.
Okay, that one is adequate, successful, recent experience. So how about a 20? And 20. This next category is the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. So on this one, they did have a QAC program. They talked about a couple of other programs such as Procore, QuickBase, Vantage Point tools they use. They did have a description of budget, and so that was related to schedule, budget, efficient design solutions. And then we had they had set internal goals for themselves that they would meet, which was good. So based on that, I've given them I give them a 7.
First, Williams,
To meet schedule and budget.
schedule and budget. I've given them a 12.
Okay.
It's okay for the 12, just note on here, construction experience, board's confidence, demand schedule and budgets. And like you said, they had a lot of QA, QC procedure. I thought that was pretty.
They did have a lot of tools, which was good behind that.
Regulatory coordination, multidisciplinary project controls.
And they do talk about how accelerated schedules. And so
Yeah.
based on that, I could go with the 12. Or okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Consensus for the 12.
Yeah.
12 seems like a good consensus. Then, something that is effective firm's recent, current, and projected workload. So that one, we had good experience. They had about 50% projected availability. Let's see if that's yeah, available time at 50%. And they also included all of their subs, which was good. So, and they did a current workload and available bill. So it ranged from 40% to 60% of current workload and availability of 40% to 60%, depending on who it is. And the project manager was about 80%. So based on how they gave them it.
I gave them an 11.
Okay.
I noted their subject matter experts and their local relationships with SBAs to help them accelerate projects.
That's it.
I gave them a 12 and just kind of noted on here that could be considered for smaller projects. But I gave them a 12.
Okay.
So I'm fine with 11.
11 sounds like a consensus. Yeah.
All right, to go through the consensus scores for CSA Central Inc. Criteria 1 was a 23. Criteria 2 was a 20. Criteria 3 was a 12. Criteria 4 was an 11.
Confirmed.
Now they have 5 SBE bonus points, 3 past performance, and a 5 for volume of work, which brings their grand total to 79 points. And then now the next firm is going to be Foley Bryant Architecture.
For Foley Bryant Architecture, for criteria 1, I gave them a 27. I noted that they had a demonstrated ability to meet the capacity, and that they had sustained ability to it, because that they had a diverse group of staff. Down here,
Okay.
27.
Gave them a 29. I just noted on here they had a lot of experience, renovation assessments, planning, construction administration. The knock on them I put on here was just internal staffing depth is smaller than a lot of the other firms. So I gave them a 29.
Good point. Yeah, I saw that they have a lot of licensed architect staff, around 28. They had higher ed, a lot of higher ed experience, and other project types. The project manager was an architect. Yeah. It did look like they had all the disciplines. They had a pretty good understanding of the project. So they had other continuing service contracts. And against, maybe it's the immediate firm is a little bit smaller, with not a lot of backup, but the PM had managed other continuing service contracts, such as Manatee and New College. And based on that, I have given them a 27. We get a consensus city of 27, 27, 29, 28 consensus. 28.
Okay, so for criteria number 2, I have 31 for the score here. I said that they had experience with projects of similar size and scope, and they had previous continuing services contracts.
Give them a 31 as well, just noted on here for service contracts with libraries, fire station, judicial and public safety facilities. So I gave them a 30.
31. So I did see that they have a lot of good experience, but what I found was that only 5 out of the 10 that I listed were completed projects. Some of them are in process, and then only 3 of the 10 of the projects, the PM was on the team or specific involvement with those that they enlisted. But they did have a good range of project types in there, which were very municipal and very applicable. So based on that, I give them a 25. So let's look at that category.
It's fewer large scale projects too. I kind of noted on there as well. So
The problem that they didn't have, some of them weren't completed, was the thing that I was concerned about. That second category, because of that, the 22 to 29, that higher, the 29. What do you guys think?
I like that.
29. So 29 are consensus. Oh, yeah, I get confused.
I'm so sorry. So for criteria number 3, the first willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. I gave them a 12. They noted they had a record of proving delivering projects on budget and within schedule. It's like they do some proactive coordination and lots of communication, which we like. So I gave them a 12.
Okay.
a 13 just noted strong responsiveness, communication, schedule management, consultant coordination. Showed project leadership, experience delivering service work orders. So I gave my 13.
Okay. So with this, they talked about a lot of tools, but they didn't give specific examples. I was sort of looking for that, but they did use BIM, QA/QC. They had some contingency planning on there. But I'm giving them a 10. But hearing what you both said with your points, it looks like we're probably in a upper category. Going through that, so I'm in 12. Makes sense.
That's showing a superior understanding of an approach to scope and schedule and budget with potential improvements for project delivery and cost saving.
So 12 consensus.
And then for the effect of the firm's recent current and projected workload, I gave them an 11, noting that it appeared that they had availability to address capacity and sustain that.
Give them 11 as well. Just noted on here, smaller internal staffing may present challenges if large assignments were given to them. So I gave them 11.
Yeah. With that, it looked like based on that, so they had 36 availability, but by 27, it looked like they were showing 100% availability, which probably it really happens, but, they did have 4 licensed architects and the staff of 19, but they didn't have the sub-professionals on here, which was a little bit concerning to me.
Was consulted.
Yeah, they didn't really list what your availability was, and if you don't have your subs available, there could be an issue. So based on that, I give you an 8. But looking at that, how about the between the 9 and 11, but on the lower end, 9? Because of the, we don't really have all the information.
Yeah, I like that.
It's gonna be with you.
That sounds fair.
For Foley Bryant Architecture, to run through the numbers once more, criteria 1 was a 28. Criteria 2 was a 29. Criteria 3 was a 12. Criteria 4 was a 9.
Oh,
Okay. For the SBU bonus points, was a 0. A past performance score of a 3. Volume of work was a 5. That brings their grand total to 86 points. Now, that was 6 out of the 13 firms, so about halfway through. If you guys want to take a break or keep going, whatever you prefer.
I'm fine.
let's do one more and then take a bathroom break.
Okay.
We'll come back.
So the next firm is Fleischman Garcia.
Take it in.
Yeah.
So criteria number 1, ability, firm, professional personnel. I gave them a 32 out of 34. Just noted on here, several engineering. This ones are results forwarded with strong local presence, continuing services, UAQC procedures. And of course, extensive public sector experience and a lot of Hillsborough County. So I gave them 32.
Okay. This one they listed the reference as meaning based on the information of the reference that they have for the continuing service contracts. I do want to point out that there is a potential one of the team members is not an active team member, the project manager, based on that reference information. Just for your consideration within this grouping, but they have listed does have a lot of project experience with municipal, very similar in scope. The team, but this is the team, is a strong team, but just pointing out the project manager doing not, it's not with them. So taking that in consideration, I give them enough 30. So. And what did you get them?
32.
32.
I gave them a 31. I also noted that there's a project manager that was supporting them, that was not with the team, but I also noted that they are familiar with our services and our workflows and our county standards.
I think 31 would be a good consensus.
Yeah.
It's good. 31.
Criteria number 2, experience with similar projects. I gave them a 33. Just noted that continuing service contract with libraries, library risk, fire rescue, civil buildings, parks, renovations. They've got several similar projects. So I gave them 33.
I gave them a 33 as well. I will not relist all of the projects. Oh, I'm sorry, Philip.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. It's my whole life.
Yeah.
I felt like they did have 9 of the 10 were very similar municipal projects. They did have lots of continuing service projects. The one thing I thought, some of them were a little bit older, but within range. I thought that was good. They did have renovations, libraries, parks, fire services, new libraries, similar to RPS. And again, master planning and things like that. So based on that, 31. So, within that category, if we go to that, part of the consideration was looking at the team members who are listed on there, that I saw. If you go into the bottom of each sheet, like who is involved. Like Marcel and Derek, again, the team member is there as the reference, so that's something that is in consideration for us for. So based on that, I give them a 31. Would we be okay with a 31 or 32?
Okay with either one.
Okay, 31 is a consensus, 31 consensus.
Criteria number 3, schedule and budget requirements. I gave them a 13 out of 15. Just not on here, strong continuing services, responsiveness, project controls, QA/QC. Some additional measurable schedule, cost control metrics, would have strengthened that proposal, but I gave to the 13 out of 15.
This category, I thought they hit all the marks. There really wasn't anything missing. They described all the tools, milestones, phasing, accelerated delivery they talked about, so it really met all of the needs. So I'd give them a 15.
I think that's fair. I also gave them a 13. But I would not disagree with 15. I think that they demonstrated a good ability to stay on time and, you know, to meet the schedule. And like you said, they've got cost control built in, and they've got some QA/QC. So I'd be willing to agree with
14 or
15.
18 minutes.
I'm fine with either one.
Okay. Let's look at 14. Since,
I feel comfortable with 14.
Are you okay with 14? Okay, consensus is 14.
Figure number 4, current and projected workload. I gave them a 13 on this. Demonstrated strong staffing capacity, multiple office locations, backup staffing. The one knock I had on it is the workload section. They provided more forecasting and staffing allocation. So now that I'm looking at it now, reviewing all of them, you know, the 12 out of, or the 13 out of 15 may be a little high end.
What I had saw was a couple things. They did look like they had 60 to 75% availability. But again, because of the reference of the PM, might reduce their availability. I took that into consideration. And then they didn't show their consultants, their sub-consultants. So based on that, I've given
I gave them a 12.
Okay.
On reviewing everything, I would agree with James. It could probably come down. It was generous, but I did note that they noted that they were highly motivated and immediately available to commit themselves to us.
that is true. Let's see. So that category. So if we were to look at the 9 to 11 range, which is the midpoint of those two categories. Submittal shows the consultant's project team has adequate time and available personnel to complete service on schedule. The other one, the 12 to 15, that submittal shows consultant's project team has adequate staff and available to complete services on schedule, and submittal indicates backup staff and capability in event of unforeseen circumstances. I think we're more in the 9 to 11.
I would agree with you on that.
Okay,
So
so
reading it out.
about a 11.
11.
Consensus.
Go through those consensus scores just to make sure we have them recorded correctly. Fleischman Garcia for criteria 1 was a 31. Criteria 2 was a 31. Criteria 3 was a 14. Criteria 4 was a 11. They met the SBE bonus points. They had 5. Past performance, a score of a 5. Volume of work was a 0. That puts their total points at 97. Now, at this time, the committee would like to take a little 5-minute break. Okay, we'll return at 2:15.
And then I've got the one over.
The team will go ahead and Continue on. Our next firm that we're going to be discussing is Forefront Architecture and Engineering LLC.
Thank you. So the first one is the team's experience, our category. We had a firm that has some experience with a registered architect of 28. They did have some municipal projects. It looked like they had many, or the project manager, no. I know. The issue is that it did not look like she was an architect. Let me just verify that. As you can, and so taking that into consideration would be important there. Yeah, she's an interior design degree, so that would be the project designer. The architectural lead is Eleanor Davis, principal. With that, it wasn't clear to me, some of the sub-consultants of the disciplines, so the organization did not appear to have a clear organization. It had some typos. It said the understanding the project is Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Didn't have any continuing contract references. So that's what I was looking at. And based on that, I had given them a lower score of a 4.
I mean, it's that they have a continuing contract.
Let's look at it. Affordable housing. So affordable housing initiative is somewhat, if you think of it like that, but not necessarily. Emergency operations center in Nevada. Affordable housing, if you want to consider that as one, I guess.
That might have been what I referenced there in my notes. Regardless, I gave them a 20. I thought that they had adequate experience.
Give them a 20 as well. Just kind of the knock on I put on here was basically it's a lot about structural engineering. Aspect, the QAQC and that kind of thing is decent. That's kind of
Right. So just looking at it, I'm just looking at it. So like the engineering lead, who's an engineer, it says if needed, this guy would come in, but really the other one was a material designer. So I just don't think I didn't feel like it had a good clean experience for that, for the personnel. So I thought it was on the lower side of, it didn't have the organization that wasn't there that we would need to complete the project. So I can look at coming up, but this
7 to 13.
and that category, some had some experience, but they were lacking some of the project organization was marginal, in my opinion.
What was yours?
I was at the lower end, but I think I could go to like a 8, 9, I think it's 9.
Okay.
What do you think?
I can agree with 9. Okay.
Kindness consensus. So the next one is the firm's experience with projects of a similar size and type. On that one, they had 6 of the 10 projects looked like they were not completed yet, they were ongoing. And then a couple of them were only schematic and didn't continue with what was going on. They did have municipal projects. Again, I wasn't clear if they were continuous contracts or not. That's why we said maybe we thought they did, but it wasn't clear to me. The noting, and then the PM only had 1. It looked like they only had 1 experience list within the projects they provided, so they didn't have a lot of continuity. They're 15, but the projects that they provided. So based on that, I've given them a 15.
And the firm's willingness, ability to schedule.
That's the second category, firms experience with projects of similar size and type, so what's your score?
Firms with size and type, for size and type, 9. I thought we agreed to, I thought 9 was our consensus score on firms experience.
For the first one,
Oh, for the first one.
we're on the second category.
Yeah. Go back. Score.
So are you in a 9 for the second category?
No, I'm sorry, I'm at 22 for the second.
22. Based on what?
Firms experience. Again, I mentioned that, where I thought that they had, the ongoing continuing contract. I could have sworn that they, it says work with both. It, and I don't know, because I combined them all, to be honest. So it's on 539 of all of mine, but it says that they have extensive, they hold over 15 ongoing continuing contracts. Let me see if I can. First week. But yeah, there's where it was.
Okay, and the
I gave them a 20. Just noted on here. I experienced public safety buildings, government renovations, EMS facilities, parking structures. But yeah, these were the ones. Just fewer examples of libraries, parks, a little bit larger scale projects. That's why.
So we have the gas department renovation ongoing. And we had the Lake County tax collector completed in 2019. The sheriff marine facility schematics. We had the fire station 22, that was an assessment, so it wasn't really a full project. And we had the elections building. They were terminated due to the budget risks on that one, so that was some concerns.
Okay.
Affordable housing initiative, that was good. The Hawthorne Area Resource Office Center and Warehouse that was ongoing. The Sand Lake Vista Office Building, that one is under construction, not complete. And the elementary school field house facility. I commented on. The Point Siena Plaza residential development, they weren't selected for award, so schematic design only. So based on that, I didn't. That's why I was in that other category of some weren't completed. It was not based on the projects that submitted. So not on the category of they said they have to be service contracts in the back. So based on that, I've given them the 15 in that category, but I could come up, I'd be willing to look at a higher number within that same category, so it may be like a 18.
So I say 17, 18.
Okay, 18, I think it's good. 18 consensus.
Yep.
Next category is the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. So based on that, they did have Microsoft project they talked about, Dell Tech, which I think is really more of an internal measurement of people's time. But Autodesk, BIM, they did talk about reducing costs by controlling delays, looking at phasing as tools and making improvements. So I thought they covered quite a bit in there, and I've given them 11.
I've given them 11.
Okay.
I was trying to give them 11 too.
Well, we really agreed on that.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I had on there was just limit the details on regarding fire schedule performance, so that's. I'm not that, but
Our last category we have is the affected firm's recent, current, and projected workload. So on that one, it looked like the staff had availability of 40 to 80%, but didn't include projected workload. So it just was talking about our current team, so we don't know what will happen in the future. And then it did look like Manel was about 80% available, but it didn't discuss like a backup of what if they weren't available, who would come in, and it didn't talk about the subs. So based on that, I'm giving them a 10.
Giving them a 10 as well.
I didn't do this. But yeah, I guess my one concern was, it had a lot of, relatively short tenured people with the firm, active workload may requires oversight, so that's kind of.
So it makes sense of the 10.
Okay. So for forefront architecture, for criteria 1, we had a score of a 9. Criteria 2 was an 18. Criteria 3 was an 11. Criteria 4 was a 10. All in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And for the SBE bonus points, that was a 0. Past performance score of a 3, and volume of work was a 5. That brings their total points to 56. The next firm we'll be discussing is Fur, Wagner, and Brooks Architects.
Criteria 1, is ability of firm and its professional personnel. I did that they I noted that they had a diverse staff with project and time management skills. I gave them a 32.
I agree that they did have a diverse staff. They had prior experience with similar project types. The project manager had a depth of experience. They had interior designers on board, Hillsborough County experience, and continuing service contract experience. So based on that, 32.
But 32 as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I put kind of like what you've been or anything, got a lot of experience. The only thing, I had that knocked them down a little bit was, a lot of disciplines were through consultants. That was the reason I knocked them down a little bit here tonight. So,
The consensus of 32.
So criteria number 2, firm's experience with projects of similar size and type. For this one, I gave them a 34. Said that they have extensive experience. They've got services experience. They've got Hillsborough County experience. They've got the fire stations, the Falkenberg complex, the emergency shelters, the lift stations, the downtown elevator. The list I think is extensive. So I gave them a 34.
and that's same line, I gave them a 33, just on what you said there.
And very similar, I give them a 34, but based on a couple of the projects were in progress still, so that's why they didn't get, but everything else matched exactly our scope and experience. So 34, the consensus?
Yep.
Okay, 34. So criteria number 3, the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. I gave them a 13 for this. I noted that they had proactive planning. They had cost and schedule validations. They've got some, looks like innovative strategies. So based on that, I gave them a 13.
I gave them a 14 on there, just, Just because of schedule management, project coordination, budget control. That's what people for you.
So I've given them an 11, but I did say that they did talk about early release packages, concurrent permitting, which was good, coordination workshops, phasing, life cycle performance, which is good. And they referenced design accounting standards, the thing. And they talk about some redundancy and things like that, but I didn't see really the acceleration unnecessarily. That's why I gave them an 11, but I think I might have some based on the information we had, because it was still strong. So we want to do a 13. 13 sounds good.
Yeah.
13. 13.
And then our criteria number 4, the effect of the firm's recent current and projected workloads. I gave them a 9 for this. That they had sufficient staffing to manage the project, but there's sufficient adequate.
Yeah.
I gave them a 12, just noted on here, limited workload forecast and staffing allocation. Detail was provided, so I gave them a 12.
And I did see that their commitment was between 40 and 65%. But they did project their availability, so that was a little bit something I looked at. And then their core team was together for quite a while, like 10 and 25 years, with low staff turnover, which was good. But based on that, I gave them like 11. So you'd be comfortable with a either 10 or 11. Let's see the categories. Let's see. They're both in that same category. Yeah. 11.
Yeah, 11.
11 is good. Consensus of 11. Yeah. Okay.
So to go over those scores, we got a 32 for criteria 1, 34 for criteria 2, 13 for category 3, and 11 for category 4.
Correct.
And for SPE bonus points of 5, past performance score of 5, and volume of work score of 3. So that puts their total amount of points at 103 points. So the next firm will be evaluating as Globetrotters Engineering Corporation.
For criteria number 1, ability of firm and professional personnel. Then my 22. It's got a note on here that it's a little bit less tailored toward Hillsborough County than some of the other firms. They did have experience with architecture code compliance, public sector projects, a lot of frustrated infrastructure work. You got 34.
That's really in the lowest category, and I'll tell you, I'm going to get much feedback on that. So the project manager was in Florida. Well, actually, hold on. Yeah, he is licensed in the state of Illinois, not Florida. Need to back up. And so even though he's licensed, it's not Florida. And then the project architect is not Florida. They can't really, they don't really meet the minimum qualifications of what we're looking for as a Florida. Because they can perform in the county. So based on that and their history of that, they did have local experience with permitting. They did have some Spares Authority type of work, Army Corps of Engineer, museum, police station, zoo. They did have municipal experience, but I was missing that and maybe that's a typo in there, but it says licensed architect, state of Illinois. Nothing in Florida, so I don't know how you would feel about that. So based on that, I've given him a 5.
I had given them a 15. As overly impressed, but it was not, the fit. In the 14 to 20 category was adequate levels of experience.
The 14 category, the proposed project manager's qualifications are adequate, so I don't think they are adequate.
With him not being licensed in Florida.
Either the,
I would agree with you. I didn't catch that.
no. The Danny, the project architect. It's again, Illinois, it's not in Florida, so I just. I think we need to come down to the category of areas 0 to 6, maybe if a higher range than that. Okay. Really 6. That's a 6.
Criteria number 2, experience with similar projects, give them a 19 on this. Emphasized a lot of Chicago area, that area, projects. The libraries, fire stations, anything, so that's why I'm taking.
I've given them a 20, just again, they did have a lot of similar experience, but a couple of them were in progress, that's complete yet, so based on that, I'm giving them a 20.
I had given him an 18.
And 18. Okay. Already consensus for that, yeah, how about a 19 not the consensus? It may be, it's 19 consensus, 19.
Criteria number 3, schedule and budget requirements. I gave them a 10 on this. I just know on here limited detail regarding rapid response, continuing service delivery, local staff and availability, schedule management procedures. Give them a 10.
Yeah. So based on the information I have that, they did have some CPM, they did do baseline updates. Talk about early contractor involvement, which we sometimes we do, sometimes we don't do. PM approach, experienced personnel is what they referenced, but there really wasn't a lot of specific information. There, I have a question I need to ask you.
Yes.
So, because they're only in Illinois, and it talks about how they visit the sites frequently, they would have to get on a plane to come to the sites.
That's correct.
Okay, so just taking that into consideration, that would take them effort to get on the plane to come to Tampa to make site business. So taking that as it is, as a comment. But based on that, I put what they submitted, I've given them in the lower category of the 3 to 5. But then here, so went with the 5 on that.
All right, and go ahead and just take a break. We're just gonna cut it right in the middle, and then we'll get right back to it.
But we just want to take a break anyway.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you all for the brief intermission. We're gonna go and continue.
So we were talking about the first category, and in the first category, based on the information that they submitted, I have given them a 5.
So the first category for Globetrotters, I've given them a 6.
We're going all the way back to criteria number 1.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, we're going back.
Well,
we were on number 3, right?
we were on number 3.
Oh, we're starting.
Oh, no, I just,
Oh, okay.
you had said for criteria 1, you had given them your score. So for criteria 1 right now, I have a 6.
Yeah.
Criteria 2 was a 19.
19,
Yeah.
And then we were on criteria 3. I think
Right.
that's when you gave them your score.
Yeah.
So for criteria 3, I had 11. Based on the criteria there, 11 shows a good understanding and approach to scope, and schedule and budget, project budget and schedule can be met. And based on their comments that they had experienced personnel and a commitment to a strong client relationship, it sounded like they had the ability to meet those requirements with an 11 for me.
Okay. So I think based on that category of the between 9 and 11, the middle shows good understanding of an approach to scope, schedule and budget, project budget, and schedule can be met. So they did talk about some of the categories within there. So we, is a 10 a consensus?
I like 10. I feel agree with 10.
Criteria number 4, current projected workload, I gave them a 9. Straight active public sector workload, experienced personnel. Just demonstrated fewer services, ability to support multiple county assignments that they were given, so I gave them a 9.
That one, given them a 7 based on some typos in there, referencing the county park project and some other information and the availability. So I've given them a 7.
For that one, I gave them a 12, only because they noted that they had a backup staffing plan in place.
So within that category, we can would we be willing to look at the 9 to 11? Middle shows the consultant's project team has adequate time and available personnel to complete services on schedule.
Say 9 or 10.
Just pointing out the other typos. Yeah, so how about a 10?
Agreed with.
All righty. So for Globetrotter Engineering, criteria 1 was a 6. Criteria 2 was a 19. Criteria 3 was a 10. Criteria 4 was a 10. That sound right? Yeah. For the SPE bonus points, they had 0. For the past performance points, they had 3. And for the volume of work, they had 5. So that brings their grand total of points to 53. The next firm we'll be evaluating is Goodwin Mills. Yeah.
Who are you?
I'd be happy to. If you'd
Yeah,
like me
lots of-
to. Goodwood Mills, the for criteria number 1, ability of its firm and professional personnel. I gave them a 28. I said that they had Marissa, who's leading the Tampa architects team. She's a licensed architect and project manager. They've got extensive experience, so I gave them 20 and 28.
I gave them a 29. And just noting capabilities, strong architectural and capabilities. So I gave them a 25.
given them a 30 based on their experience that they had and project types that they listed, and a lot of continuing service contract experience. About age 29. Is that sound a good consensus? I mean,
Yep.
So for the next section, the firm's experience with projects of similar size and type. Within a 26, I did note that they had similar projects that they had done, similar renovation projects. You noted that they had extensive experience with continuing contracts. Thinking about it now, I could probably give my score higher, but for right now, it says 26.
I gave them a 27. It's just the only negative thing I had to say was just first director of Hillsborough County experience and 7 other firms. So I gave them 27.
I've given them a 30 based on what they had submitted and the continuing service contracts and similar work experience for local permitting too. The only thing I did note is they only provided 8 projects with some of the continuing services referenced within there, but 8 specific projects within that. So based on that, I've given them a 30. So would we want to look at a 27?
I agree to 27.
27. 27 is not something. It's the same category.
For criteria number 3, the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. For this one, I gave them an 11. They have a project management approach, schedule control, but I didn't necessarily see where there was a backup plan. A backup.
13 on this. Just noted strong understanding, project scheduling, budget management, consulting coordination. Experience delivering public sector project on schedule within budget.
On this, I've given them a 9 based on the cost estimates were there about each phase I talked about. They have some good tools. Then I have a little bit of concern, questions about project manager put down here. But other than that, I'd given them a 9. So what if we look at a 9 to 11, this middle shows good understanding of an approach to scope, schedule, and budget. Project budget and schedule can be met. Would we be comfortable at a 10 or 11?
Yep.
10.
The last category, the effect of the firm's recent, current, and projected workload. I put there, I gave them also a 10. It looks like they do regular cross training. It looks like they've got some scalable team structure. But I gave them a 10.
A 10.
I gave them 12 on this. Hoping that they had adequate staffing, depth, organization, capacity to support multiple assignments. So I gave them a 12.
I've given them a 10. Based on they had between 20 and 50% availability. And it looked like their approach existing and future workload was sort of similar. So Based on the information they presented, I give them a 10. So we have 2 10s and a 12. 10 or 11 would be okay.
And 10 agree and 10.
10 is included.
Okay, for Goodwin Mills, we had a 29 for criteria 1, 27 for criteria 2, 10 for criteria 3, as well as a 10 for criteria 4.
Right.
Okay. For the SBE bonus points, there was a 0. For past performance score was a 3, and a 5 for volume of work. So this puts Goodwin Mills grand total at 84 points.
Okay.
The next firm we'll be looking at is Gresham Smith. Gresham Smith. Thank you.
But-
Yeah, so criteria number 1, ability, firm, professional personnel. I gave them a 32 out of 34. Just note on here, exceptional public sector. Architectural engineering expertise, in-house capabilities. Of course, they have a huge Tampa Bay presence. So I gave them a 32 and 34.
I've given them a 28 just because the project manager was not an architect, she was an interior designer. But other than that, they had a good background. So,
I also give them a 32, noting their in-house architect. You know, they've got diverse interior design, landscape architecture, structural engineering.
look at the plan qualifications. So project managers, Melissa Maslow. So she's a 25-year military veteran, 11 years, and her Bachelor of Arts in Interior Design. 11 years of experience, Arts Institute, International Kansas City. So I didn't see how her qualifications, because it would be not above average qualifications for that, in my opinion. So that would be in the lower range of the qualifications. That's why I wasn't up in the upper part, but everything else, you know, I would say would be sufficient. How about if we looked at, I really think, what do we think about a 28 in that category based on that?
I like 28 based on the information.
Okay. It's consensus.
Criteria number 2, experience similar projects. I gave them a 33 on this. It demonstrated a lot of experience with fire station libraries, gun facilities, civil projects. So I would say
32. The second category, you gave them 32.
I'm sorry, 34.
34?
34.
Okay. Sorry. 34. Okay. On this one, I did see they have continuing contract experience with USF and some other things, usability studies, offices, lounge windows. There were a couple projects that weren't complete, like 4 out of 10. And then the experience we provided wasn't really of the team. So I've given them a 29.
Okay, for a lot of the same reasons that Philip noted, and some of the ones that you noted, I gave them a 33.
So with this, category of 28 to 30. Let's fill that one. So. So it's right on the edge. Prime, so 30 to 36 is prime firm has superior past and recent successful experience with projects of a similar size and type. Prime firm's approach and methods proposed are superior to provide the level of service required for the project. All of the services and scopes provided for represented projects are similar to RPS scope. But based on some of them not being complete and some of them really don't have the team's experience, that's why I was in the lower category. But how about like would a 30 make sense to both of you?
Yeah, we see you can do, yeah, we'll do 30.
30 is consensus?
Tier number 3, schedule and budget requirements. Table 14 on this, this exceptional understanding, rapid response, continuing service delivery, work orders, mobilization, and budget controls. So I gave them 14.
We did talk about schedule acceleration, and good understanding of the project that they talked about BIM and other, but I was missing the budget component of it. I didn't see where they were referencing, they put the word in budget, but then really didn't describe what was happening with budget control. So on that, I had given them actually an 8.
I gave them a 13.
Okay.
Yeah, in their project management permission. They did note budget, so I did that as well.
They didn't have the word budget, but they didn't
Yeah.
really describe what it was. But I'm willing to come up some of that because they did describe the other components of it within there. How about the lower component of the 13 is consumptions?
Okay, I like 13.
Criteria number 4, current projected workload. I gave them a 13 on this. Substantial staffing depth, extensive resources, organization, capacity to management, manage assignments, and a pretty large portfolio. So that's the one thing I was a little concerned about balancing that kind of demand that they may have. So looking back, 13 may be a little high, but that's.
That one was on the lower side, just because if you look at the information that they provided, not that I don't think they're going to do the loop, but when they're talking about budget and workload, it doesn't have any of the project, who's the team that this is, that they're providing information on. It doesn't have the sub-consultants. It was just a generic graphic of something that they submitted in there. That wasn't very, it didn't have the team members and the subcontractors. It didn't give me information I could really evaluate on. And so I was down in the 4 range.
And that's saying that submittal shows that the consultant's workload commitments will impact the billing.
See what they submitted. And then what does that give you?
Yeah, just,
Even though they probably can, it just, the information they provided didn't have, the information that we needed to evaluate. I'm not sure where you were.
Oh, I'm sorry, I never. I noted that they had, they noted that they did have a strong internal backup resource. So I do agree that the graph's a little funny, but they did say that they had a strong internal backup resource to make sure that services were interrupted. So I did reference that.
Yeah, the text was somewhat there. But if we look at, so if we're in the higher range that you guys put, submittal shows the consultant's project team has adequate staffing available to complete services on schedule. Did it show it to us in that? Here.
just more of like a broad,
Yeah.
broad scope, but
Submittal indicates backup staffing capability in the event of unforeseen circumstances.
That's really all they said. Just they say it. All right.
So I'm just curious.
I still
I'm
really-
willing to,
I hear you.
and maybe I was missing it, so that's why I'm asking.
maybe just meet in the middle there of Would you have any?
I had the lower component because, it didn't give information within there, but, how about like a 6 or 8, 6 to 8,
7?
7?
Like 7, I like
Seven.
6 to 8, 7
Seven.
sounds good.
Is the consensus? 7
7 is the
in
consensus.
that category? Okay. So it's like that.
All right, well, that wraps up the 4 criterias. I had 28 for the consensus score for criteria 1, 30 for criteria 2, 13 for criteria 3, and a 7 for criteria 4.
Confirm.
Okay. For their SBE bonus points, they had a 5. For past performance was a 3, and volume of work was a 5. So in this case, that brought their grand total to 91 points.
Okay.
The next firm that we will be evaluating is Halflands plus Paquette.
Start. So my turn.
Yeah.
So on this one, with the first category, the experience. The thing that I saw that
What was
was
the stand up questions? That's what that the last one is.
I
just the outline is the 13.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
It just still have a step line off of my, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So with this one, what I want to point out what they submitted is it looks like the project manager. It's Smith as a project architect. Okay, Ed Smith as a project architect. So on this one, it looked like they had a lot of professionals. They did have all the disciplines that they needed. They did have a good understanding of the project. They had 100 employees. 1,200 in Florida, 1,200 in overall. So the one thing I just want to look at. That's fine. So based on that information, I would say a 22.
For that one, I gave them a 25. And then I had a multidisciplinary consultant team.
I keep them at 25 as well, just kind of noting that internal staffing is smaller than several other firms.
Okay. Favorite categories for that.
Yes.
For the project manager's qualifications. So the project manager. Day-to-day contact is Ed Smith. He is an architect. His past experience, not under this firm, but another firm, Long and Associates, consolidating his facility. So looking at that within the category, he probably is, I would think, qualified project manager. So what if we look at the range of 20, I would be willing to go up to 25 on that. 25.
Yep.
Okay. So the next category is firms experience with projects of a similar size and type. On that one, they did have continuing service contracts with USF, some feasibility studies, office labs, renos. One thing I did note is that several of the projects they presented were not complete, like 4 out of the 10, and only 1 out of the 10 had PM experience. Which, so that wasn't part of the team's experience within there. So based on that, I've given them a 22.
For some very similar reasons, I gave them a 23.
Gave them a 23 as well, to kind of note what you guys are saying. And then a lot of it seemed to emphasize a lot of innovations rather than ground up construction. So, yeah. 23.
I'll be the one who can have to change it. Make sure you use the consensus. Okay, the next one is the firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. So on that one, we have they did have a good understanding of continuing contracts. They talked about many different tools that they had. The one component that was a little bit missing here was to talk about budget. So if we go, here a lot of it talks about schedule. They did talk a little bit about budget control. So based on that, I would give them a 10.
I gave them an 11. They did, lightly touch on the budget. They had an efficient delivery of multiple task orders, but it's 11. 11 is what I gave them.
Okay.
I gave them a 10 as well. Just kind of know what you said about the budget. I gave them a 10.
I'd be willing to change my score to a 10.
Okay, 10 is consensus. And the last category is the permanent projected workload. Some kind of projected. And on that one, we have the one thing that was missing a little bit, it did have the project team, which was 40 to 70% availability, which was good. It just didn't have some of the subcontractors on there. So based on that, I give them a 10.
I gave them a 10. They said that they did scale quickly. So them 10.
Okay.
Gave them a 10 as well, just kind of know the final staffing resources on some of the firms. Good light heavily on consultant support.
Okay. Sounds good. Consensus of the 10.
We'll run through those consensus scores again for Health, Lance, and Paquette. We got a consensus score of 25 for criteria 1, 23 for criteria 2, a 10 for criteria 3, as well as a 10 for criteria 4.
Confirmed.
Okay. For the SBE bonus points, there was a 0. For past performance, there was a 3. And volume of work was a 5, which puts the grand total of points to 76 points. And that was our 13th out of 26 firms. So that was about 311 right now. So we would have about an hour and 50 minutes to go through the remaining if you would like to, or if you would like to conclude for today and re-adjourn tomorrow, we could do that as well.
Sounds
Got
good.
on my schedule.
Sounds good. Well, that concludes the first group of 13 evaluated firms. So we're going to reconvene tomorrow, June 12th, to discuss the remaining 13 firms. So thank you all for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow.